Hey guys, what's going on? So I finally had time to get out and do a little shooting this weekend here in Ohio and put together a little video, something that I've been working on lately. Since my first couple of videos about the Ruger Precision Rimfire had a pretty good success, I thought I would take it a little bit one step further and do another comparison video. So what I decided to compare it to was everybody's favorite rifle. I decided to put together a custom 1022. So I just want to start by saying that this video is kind of two parts. The first part is comparing the two accuracy wise, and the second part is talking a little bit about the barrel that I've replaced in this Ruger Precision Rimfire. So first I just want to talk a little bit about the barrel that I put in here. The one I decided to go with was an ER Shaw barrel. The one I put in here was a 20-inch model, and it's got a true match chamber, as you can see here. It says will not extract spent rounds, so on and so forth. That is true. You cannot extract a round that hasn't been fired. And like I said, it's 20 inches. They're fairly expensive, but we'll get a little bit more into that further in the video. First, I want to talk a little bit about this 1022, and I want to talk a little bit about the specs between these two rifles, and then I want to show you guys the groups that I shot with a particular ammo. So this is what I decided to go with for my custom build. I got a Victor Company Titan stock, which is top notch. It's super comfy. It has an aluminum bedding block with an adjustment screw. It really is awesome. They're a little on the pricey side, but it's really worth it. A lot of people compare these to the Magpul Hunter stocks. I've held both, and I can say that to me, this one is more comfortable. On this one also, again, is an ER Shaw barrel. This one is 18 inches, and it's got a Benz chamber, which to me was in between a complete match chamber and a regular chamber. Now, it cycles most rounds, but we'll get into that. The scope that I have on this one is a Diamondback Tactical 4/16 by 44 in first focal plane with the EBR2C reticle. I love it, just what I went with. It's got a Volquartsen trigger, and I do have a trigger gauge, and it's averaging about 1 pound 12 ounces, which is pretty nice. I really don't have any complaints for this trigger. I've got it adjusted right, and it works well. I've got a Kid bolt and a Kid charging handle, and what's nice about these is they come with 3 recoil springs. One's a 10% increase, one's a 10% decrease, and one's standard. So if your weapon's not cycling your favorite round, you can swap them out and see how it works. I did go ahead and get this riser just so it fit my eye to the scope. But other than that, that's what this is here. It looks nice, feels nice, and it's fun to shoot. So that's the 1022. And here is my Ruger Precision Rimfire. Now I have upgraded the glass on this. I did put another Diamondback Tactical, but this one's 6.2 by 50. It's got the same reticle, EBR2C, and I just love it. It feels good to me. Looks good. Same as all my other ones. I like it. I got the Atlas bipod on here, and again the Shaw barrel. So real quick, we can go over these groups. Now I know you guys don't want to sit through this video and hear me talk about shooting for 25 minutes, so I'll try to make this quick. And what I'm going to do is compare the two side by side so you can see the accuracy for each round. Now, how I chose my ammo is in my first 2 parts of ammo comparison, which I'm sure a lot of you guys watched, which, by the way, I had more views than I ever would imagine. A lot of feedback, 95% positive, some negative. I'm not really sure how you can have a negative comment on a 22 ammo video, but there are some people out there. Just a couple of disclaimers before we get into the groups is they were shot at 50 yards. 50 yards. Again, 50 yards. And no stingers were used in the filming of this video. I can't tell you how many people said, well, stingers in the manual. I know. I get it. Stingers in the manual. The original factory barrel on this Ruger Precision Rimfire did not have a match chamber, so you can fire stingers. It does not harm it. This ER Shaw barrel, however, does have a true match chamber, and no stingers will ever be fired through this rifle, so don't even bother saying stinger, stinger, stinger. I know, it's in the manual. I get it. That being said, we'll get into it. And again, pretty much all the ammo testing I did went out the window when I replaced this barrel. It's fairly expensive, and in my opinion, I'm not 100% convinced if it's worth it or not. One reason is it is just a really tight throw, as they say it will be for the bolt. And a lot of people that I've read on a couple of forums said theirs loosened up. Well, this one really hasn't loosened up, and it just seemed like my extraction issues got worse. But it is what it is. So the first round that I went with for these was CCI standard velocity. And we'll start with the Ruger Precision Rimfire. Let's see here. Get these out of here so you can see these groups a little bit better. Sorry about that, guys. I got a whole bunch of stuff to go through here. And again, I'll try to make it quick, and I'm not really going to add any overlay. There's 1,000 videos out there of dudes shooting targets, and nobody just really wants to watch you shoot holes in a target. So CCI standard velocity, this is the groups out of the Ruger Precision Rimfire. And here you'll see I have the new barrel, and these are the stats from the old barrel. This is the info that I have from before, so I'll just go through them real quick. And all these groups were at 50 yards, 50, and I measured these with the ballistics app. And it took me a while, but it's worth it. So the new barrel, the velocity was around 1090. The old one was 1197. And I take that with a grain of salt because when I did that first, it was really cold. So I don't know how, if I did it on the same day, how they would vary. Max deviation, standard deviation, probably haven't changed too much. Now, I'll tell you what did change is the average group size. This barrel is considerably better. It fires every type of ammo considerably better. So as you can see here, the groups are pretty darn good. I don't know what happened here. This was probably me. But you go from 0.48 to over an MOA. That's pretty good. So the average group size with the old barrel was 0.67. Or I'm sorry, with the old barrel was 1.49. With the new is 0.67. Now that's a considerable improvement. And I will say one thing that this chamber is so tight, it doesn't really like to extract these CCI rounds. I don't know if I got a bad batch or what. The first batch I had, extracted them okay, I didn't have any issues, and then I got another round and it didn't like them so much, so I don't know what's going on with that. Well, anyway, and this was supposed to be this one, but I messed up and shot it over here. But 0.48, I think that was the smallest group out of all the ammos I tested, and that's good. That's a good shooting barrel. So now we'll move to the CCI standard velocity out of the 1022. Now both barrels have been broken in. They've had a ton of rounds fired through them, so they're ready to go. And you will see the velocity is significantly less out of the 1022 with it being semi-automatic. I mean, that's kind of what you'd expect. The average group size is 1.42, so it doesn't quite like it as much, but standard velocity is fairly cheap. It's readily available, shoots it pretty well. So I've ordered some more since then. Probably shoot it some more. Now this one I didn't have the kid bolt handle installed, and it didn't seem to cycle it very well. So I think without having to readjust every time, it would shoot a little bit better, but this is what I got that day. So anyway, moving on. Next one is what shot best for me from the previous rounds out of the Ruger Precision Rimfire, and it was Eley Target. A lot of people out there don't like Target or Eley in general, but it shoots well for me. So out of the Ruger Precision Rimfire, here's the groups. You go from half MOA to 1.36. I don't know what happened there. And this one, if you take out this, that's really good. But got to count it because I shot it. Now, the new barrel fired at around 1079. The old was 1060. Again, it was really cold. Standard deviation, max deviation probably won't change that much. But this is what you're looking at here. Average group size shrunk. New barrel to old barrel. So, still going to keep this ammo. Fired well out of this one. And now here's Eley Target out of the 1022. Fired it pretty well. I was pretty surprised. But as you can see, the velocity is significantly less. Out of the Precision Rimfire, it was up in the almost 1080. And here it's 1028. Max deviation, standard deviation grew. But the average group size is still under an MOA. So as you can see here, out of a semi-automatic rifle, it shot it pretty well. I know it's a little bit expensive, so I probably won't be buying too much of it to shoot out of the 1022, but I'm going to keep shooting it out of the Ruger Precision Rimfire. So there's that. Like that ammo. Next, going to move on to Eley Force. And Eley Force, for me, has shot well to distance 200 to 400 yards out of the Ruger Precision Rimfire. It's higher velocity and a 42 grain bullet. I've been running out of it, though, because I've been doing a lot of shooting. So this first group was fouling. It's not very good. But it got a little bit smaller and a little bit better from there. As you can see here, the average velocity it's going pretty fast. 1202, the old one, 1299. And again, average group size, that's getting close to half, so it's significantly better. Now, one thing I don't like about 1022s is, at least mine is super picky about ammo. So I managed to get like 5 off, and it didn't cycle it at all. So this is basically me just putting one in at a time. So I said, screw it, I'm not wasting the ammo. Gonna save it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to test force out of the 1022. But out of the Ruger Precision Rimfire, going to keep shooting it at distances from 200 to 400 yards. Next. My overall winner, the People's Champion. Everybody loves it. Everybody has commented and said it works well for them no matter what rifle they've got. Federal White Box Target. So here's the groups from the Ruger Precision. Again, it's moving fast, so this is a great ammo to use at distance for me. It's 1230. Gained a little bit of a velocity from the old barrel, but again, it was cold. Max deviation, I mean, standard deviation, it's 9 feet per second out of bulk ammo. It doesn't get any better than that. And these groups are great. I mean, look at this one. It shot a .50 group. And again, Ballistics Advantage app is what I use to measure all these. So they're right on. Average group size with these didn't shrink too well or too much between the new and the old barrel, which tells me it just shoots good no matter what. So love it. I have a ton of it. Gonna keep shooting it. And here are the groups from the Federal Target out of the 1022. Not awesome. I have shot at distance to 200 yards with the 1022. It shoots okay. I would say it's slightly over MOA, which is fine. But as you can see here, a little bit under what it is for the Ruger Precision Rimfire, but not much. Average group size about 1.32. Not terrible. And again, what do you expect? It's $16 for 325 or whatever it is. You can't go wrong with this. You plink all day with this stuff. Gonna keep buying it. Moving on. Another one of my favorites that has always worked well for me is Aguila Super Extra. Now this is, I forgot to bring a box down. It's an orange box. I think they're 40 grains. I should have did that. Well, anyway. When I was shooting this, I don't know what happened here. This wasn't fouling. Oh, and I got to say again, all of the ammo that I had enough of, I fired 10 fouling rounds for each rifle. And then I started my groups. Now, there is a couple types of ammo that I didn't have enough to do 10 or even any fouling rounds at all, but I'll get to those groups when I come to it. But all the ones that you see, all these 5 groups had 10 fouling rounds before, so it gave the barrel a chance to get acclimated to that round. Now this one wasn't the case here. I had 10 fouling rounds, so this was just sucky. It was probably just me, because as you can see, it tightens up a little bit here. So they're pretty on, 0.74, 0.72, and as you can see here, they started grouping to the left. And I know the wind kicked up big time, because as you can see here, they're fine. They cooked up. It wasn't really me. It was definitely the wind, but followed up with a pretty good group. And again, they're going 1241. This is a fast round. Love shooting this at distance. I can hit a 6-inch plate with every round at this if there's no wind at 300 yards. Average group shots shrunk a little bit from the new to the old barrel, as you can see. Standard deviation, it's 15. Again, it's a bulk ammunition. It's cheap and it shoots well, at least out of the Ruger Precision Rimfire. Now, I started to run out. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. This is the one. Bear with me here, folks. Out of 1022. I'm sorry. Didn't quite like it as much. Averaged about 1.5 MOA. But again, it's a bulk ammunition out of a semi-automatic rifle. It shoots okay. Probably won't waste it on the Ruger or the 1022 and keep it in the precision rifle. But here you can see the best was not even an MOA. So not awesome. But again, bulk ammo. Next type, green tag. Now, I don't care what 22 Plinkster has to say about green tag ammo. He gets paid by CCI. Has not been that awesome for me. So he can say whatever he wants, but this is real world results, not that great ammunition. Now, this is one that I started to run out of. So as you can see here, this was fouling. Only had 5 fouling rounds, and we moved into the groups. Didn't even have enough to do the last 2. It shot okay. Nothing spectacular. Velocity right around 1070. But again, with the new barrel, you can see that's a significant gain in group size. It's okay. The 1022 doesn't love it. It doesn't cycle it that well for whatever reason. But as you can see, the average group size is around 1.15. And it's not bad. I'm not going to spend the money on this to shoot it out of this, but not terrible. So moving on. Another super popular type of ammo is Wolf Match. And I did have enough of this to get fouling, complete groups. The old barrel out of the Precision Rimfire didn't really like this that well, and the new barrel doesn't really like it that well. these averaged up to exactly 1 MOA. Not awesome. The velocities pretty close. Standard deviation pretty close. It's for the price. I probably won't be buying it anymore. 0.67, that's pretty good, but out to distance this stuff doesn't do that well, and it hasn't for me, new or old barrel. And here are the groups with it out of the 1022. Now as you can see, that's a significant loss in velocity out of the semi-automatic rifle, and the groups are worse. So I mean, we're looking at 1.5 MOA. That's not very good, and that's going to fall off the face of the planet at 100. And I get a lot of people shoot this and they like it, which is fine, but it doesn't work well for me, and it hasn't in the past. So probably won't be buying any more after this. So the last type of ammo that I got a chance to try with both these was Lapua Center X, another super popular round. Now the Ruger Precision doesn't fire that well, and it didn't fire that well the old barrel too, which I don't really understand because everybody loves it, and it's a true match chamber. But as you can see here, the groups I think I only got 5 fouling rounds with these. But it did start to get smaller, as you can see, when it started to settle in. Got down to 0.84. But for the price of that ammo, I'd expect way better. Another thing to note on this, I mean, that's a significant velocity drop on the barrels. But standard deviation, max deviation, pretty similar. Still averaging over an MOA, which is not that good for the price of that ammo. And again, some of that could be me. I'm not really sure. Now, unfortunately for my wallet, the 1022 is going to shoot it well. And like I said, only had 5 fouling rounds, so it started to shrink here. This got back up. This was probably me. I don't know. But this number here, I mean, max deviation, standard deviation, that's really good out of a semi-auto, under an MOA. I know that if I had a chance to fire more of this, it would like it. So those are the types of ammo that I tried. And again, I want to say this again because I got blown up in the last video, which I appreciate. I appreciate the way you guys commented. I was delightfully surprised on the interaction. All these groups were at 50 yards. And as you can see, I ran out of ammo to try at 100 yards, which is unfortunate because it was a perfect day here in Ohio. And it would have been awesome to test it. But these groups are at 50, and no stingers were fired from this one or this one. This one's got a Benz chamber. This one's got a actual match chamber. So just please don't talk about stingers. And one more thing I want to talk about before I end this video is the barrel in this. Now, these are not cheap, and there's not a ton of aftermarket options available for the Ruger Precision Rimfire. The old one fired pretty well, but I just thought there was a little bit of room for improvement. It had about 6,000 rounds for it, and it started to lose a little bit of accuracy. I read great things about these ER Shaw barrels, so I went ahead and bought one. Just one thing to note, they're in Pennsylvania, I'm in Ohio. I got it the next day. I ordered it, and it showed up the next day. That was awesome. However, it does not feed as well, and the rounds tend to get stuck in the barrel all the time. Now, it's really frustrating because you spend this kind of money on it, you want it to function fine, which I knew what I was getting because they said, yeah, your bolt throw is going to be hard and it won't fire match ammo or anything other than match ammo, which is fine. And I fired a lot of stuff through it. Thunderbolt all the way to Center X and most of the stuff in between. Not stingers, but a lot of the rounds get hung up in there, especially CCI standard velocity, and I just am not convinced that it's worth the upgrade. So if you're out there shooting for money and you get a round that works well through it, then I say go ahead. But if you're just the average everyday plinker that wants to go out in his backyard and shoot targets like me, then I say if your factory barrel shooting fine, stick with it, don't upgrade. But again, I really appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate the feedback, and this stuff, I'm obviously not being paid by anybody. I bought this stuff with my hard-earned money. I'm doing it because I enjoy the sport and I enjoy doing it. I didn't treat any other ammunition better than other because I bought them and I want them all to do well. So again, please leave your comments and feedback in the comment section. And one more thing I got to add, all this stuff is torqued down to spec. The action screw on the 1022, I think I have it set to 20 pounds, and I've experimented between 18 and 30. 20 seem to be about the best, and then all the factory settings are on this. I think it's 35 inch-pounds for the action screws for this. Scope rings, everything's torqued down, so it was pretty good comparison. If I'm picking one of these for fun, I'm more than likely going to grab the Ruger Precision Rimfire just because it feels better to me. Both are equally as fun to shoot, and I'm going to keep doing it. But in the meantime, I appreciate you guys. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.